Many Pokemon are mild-tempered and pleasant to interact with when you're not trying to capture them or take pictures by throwing apples in their faces. However, this isn't the case with Mankeys and Primeapes. These Pokemon in particular are quick to anger and will remain hostile until you're left unconscious. They will fly off the handle at the tiniest joke because they take everything as a slight against them. But perhaps they deserve some sympathy. In order to understand these creatures, we must dig deeper into their history. Many Mankeys come from broken homes, neglected as soon as they're born because their parents are too busy fighting everyone else. From birth, they learn to take everything personally and instigate fights when things are too quiet. They learn to combat their feelings of insecurities and self-loathing by combating their peers. About 94% of their population end up in the system by the age 2 and the rest end up in morgues. Nothing makes sense to them except for the feelings of skulls and ribs against their fists. And this is why they can't maintain relationships, much less a social life. They can't seek employment because no employer would accept their resumes. It doesn't help that their resumes are also horrendous because they don't have any previous working experience, can't bother getting their GEDs, or get recommendation letters from anyone unless they threaten them with violence. So without any real job prospects or friends, they became frustrated, and angrier, and more violent. They're like a machine that fed on hatred to produce more hatred. Even trainers are hesitant to capture these Pokemon despite the fact that they need to in order to complete their Pokédex, a prerequisite for becoming a Pokemon Master. Therapies and prescription medications were offered to help control their emotions, but it didn't work. No amount of soul-searching and drugs could quell their bottomless fury. Many experts deemed them a lost cause after being beaten like bongo drums. However, hope rises from an unlikely source. Recently, a generous niche market had taken interest in these Pokemon, the masochists. Members of the story community promised to pay them handsomely for their services as long as they didn't violate their contracts, ignore their safe words, or kill them. For the first time in their lives, Mankeys and Primeapes felt something akin to happiness. So many confusing but pleasant emotions stirred inside them, and it felt wrong. They didn't know if they were ever meant for such happiness. But in the midst of their emotional turmoil, they finally learned to combat themselves and their own self-doubt. They were able to evolve, emotionally. Mankeys and Primeapes accepted their offer and immediately got to work on beating up a bunch of nice, well-meaning perverts for money. And thus they became contributing members of society. I'm Jehovah's Witness Protection, and this has been another episode of Pokemon Facts. Stay tuned for more factual Pokemon facts. Have a wonderful Pokemon day.